All right. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order for the Wellspring Unified Unit School District at 6 o'clock. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First order of business is to approve the agenda. Just want to add just a quick facility report under reports, C. If there's no objection to that, we'll take a motion to approve it with that amendment.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Here's unanimously. On the public comment, is anyone here in person we'll start with who wishes to make a public comment? Yes.
Thank you. Dear Greater Rutland County Supervisory Union Board members, we, the undersigned teachers and support staff, call on the GRCSU Board to settle a fair contract with the Greater Rutland County Education Association for our certified staff. Despite many months of bargaining, teachers in GRCSU have been working without a contract since July 1st, 2025. The GRCSU Board continues to put forward insufficient offers that leave certified staff worse off with increases that keep up with inflation. We need a fair contract that allows GRCSU to recruit and retain highly qualified staff so we can continue to create the educational environment our students deserve. A fair contract would include improvements such as salary increases sufficient to lift GRCSU's starting salary to be on par with other districts in this region. Reasonable guardrails on certified staff's time during the workday and over the course of the work year. And stronger protections for certified staff facing reassignment. In order to best serve our students, we need our schools to be fully staffed. We want our schools to remain competitive with districts and other employers in the area, making GRCSU a more attractive place to work and live. We believe you have the power to make this happen. Sincerely, the undersigned employees of GRCSU. And I'll now demonstrate my attendance skills. Super. Sorry, I don't know everybody. George Gandon. Amanda Lee is up there.
You can give mine to Eric if you would like.
Okay. And Mary Plunkett.
She's not mine.
And Eric. Meredith. Erin.
I'm online, thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, could you state your name too? Just
Oh,
for
sorry, Amanda Mason,
Amanda Mason. Okay.
English teacher at High School.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? I assume speaking on behalf of everyone. Okay. So we'll move on to anyone online who wishes to speak during public comment. Okay. On the consent agenda. So we have the minute from October 8th, 16th, and 3 warrants, 425, 427, 429. If no one has any questions, we can take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Amanda?
I just had a question about the minutes from the special meeting. I think there needs to be a correction on the last page, in the last sentence in the top paragraph. I guess it's not the last page. I'm sorry. Yes, it is the last page. It says there was additional discussion about providing a clarifying statement for the public, trying to prevent any confusion, and this will be on the agenda for next month's meeting. And I don't think that's actually what we said. I think we said if we thought we needed one, we would discuss it at this meeting and put it on for the following month. But these minutes make it sound like we're discussing it tonight.
I can't remember what was said, honestly. I know it was something about, maybe it was, potentially talking about it, but I don't know. Does anyone else recall? Is there something you would like it to say, in particular, or?
I just think we should take out the sentence that says this will be on the agenda for next month's meeting, because we never said we were putting it on the agenda. We just discussed possibly making a statement, because it's not accurate, because we're not talking about it tonight at this meeting, making a statement.
What's that?
So strike that last sentence and then.
Yeah.
Searching sense.
Yeah, and I think, if my thought was, because I do remember talking about it last month, was that it's something that we could discuss under community engagement as well. But okay.
I mean, if we're discussing it tonight, we can leave it. I didn't think we were discussing it tonight, so I thought we should strike it, because I didn't think it was something that we decided to put on the agenda. But I'll let you decide, Eric. If we are discussing it, then we can leave that sentence. But
It's up to you. I mean, it's something that you brought up. So if you feel it shouldn't be in the minutes, I particularly don't think it matters either way. Even if we say it's going to be on the agenda and then ends up not being on the agenda, I don't think it's too significant. But anyone else have any other thoughts on this? Or so, I mean, I'm fine with leaving it in there. Whatever you think, Amanda.
I trust your judgment. If you think it's okay, we can leave it.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Okay. So, no other questions. Take a motion to approve it. As presented.
I'll make that motion.
By George. Okay, all those in favor
Aye.
of approving consent agenda?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Matt?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm for. Aye.
Okay, motion carries now. All right, on to finance. I guess if anyone had any questions on the monthly reports, do you want to take those first, or? Yep. All right.
Is this referring to the expenditure report?
Yes.
I have one question. Sorry.
Oh, no, how's the time?
On page 4, there's a section. I guess I have two questions. So on page 4, there's a section for counselor services, and I was just looking for clarification around that, because Wells doesn't have a counselor. So I'm assuming this is a whole for just Middletown. Is that true?
That's not correct. The bulk schools have a counselor.
Ours is technically considered a homeschool coordinator,
But it's in the same category.
right? It's not the same title.
So
Okay.
it's the expenses showing up in the same category.
Okay. And then my next question was on page 5, the Board of Education section. since nobody on the board is an employee, we're all elected by the town, how come there are fees like FICA and medical, unemployment, workman's comp totaling 18, I guess a little over 16,000?
Board members are paid as employees. You receive a W-2 at the end of the year.
So I guess I just don't understand like the workman's comp and unemployment.
So the workman's comp and unemployment is for the full district. It just shows up under the Board of Education section. But the board member salaries and the FICA MEDI, those pertain, well, the FICA MEDI pertains to both the school board members as well as the reporting clerk.
And the same for unemployment and workman's comp?
The unemployment and workman's comp is for the full district. That pertains to all employees.
How would a board member be eligible for unemployment?
You're not. The unemployment expense there and the workman's comp expense is for all employees for the district. So that's your teachers, your counselors, your paras, all employees. That's what's showing up there. It's an administrative expense, so that's why it's showing up in that category.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
I guess I don't know because it's also in other areas I guess I don't understand, Louis, because it's also in other areas within the whole district where it's not under Board of Education.
Unemployment and workman's comp?
Like,
Unemployment and workman's comp is only in that Board of Education section. FICA and MEDI is in every category. That's covers Social Security and Medicare expense. That's a 7.625% that we have to pay for all wages.
right, okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so on to the budget.
So actually, before we get into the budget, we had put together this cost drivers document. So this is something that we put together last year as part of our communication, community engagement. It just as another piece of informational document to provide to the school board as well as to the public. This was available on our website last year, and it'll be available this year, just to kind of identify some of the larger factors that are affecting school budgets. And this one's specific to Wellspring Springs, but a lot of them are pretty similar. On the sheet, it shows the 6 main factors. So personnel costs is the largest factor. If you look at any school, personnel and benefits makes up approximately 80% of the budget for the school budget. Schools that have, or districts that have choice, it's benefits are a little bit less because you have a large section of your budget that's where you're tuitioning students out. And so personnel costs are usually around 60% in a choice town. So personnel costs and health insurance are those are 2 big factors that we'll talk about tonight and in every budget discussion. Inflation, this impacts a lot of our expenses, anywhere from our tuition expense for secondary schools, supplies, food service, transportation. So this is something that is a factor every year in the budget. Special education costs, this is at the SU level, but those costs get assessed down to the local district based on the number of IEP students each district has. So that's always a factor in each budget. Facility repairs and school construction, we'll talk about that a little bit tonight, but a lot of our buildings are aging buildings with deferred maintenance, and we're throughout the year talking about all different things that need to happen, and it's always a focus. on whether it be just your annual repairs or large capital projects. And then tuition is, since Wellsprings only runs a pre-K through 6, and you're tuitioning out 7 through 12, there's a large section of your budget which is outside of your control. Parents have choice. They can choose any public or private school in Vermont or out of Vermont, and those schools set their tuition, or if it's a private school, then we go by the state tuition. And so when you're looking, if you're looking to make changes to your budget or cuts to your budget, that's one area of budget really where you have little control, and so that really impacts your K through 6 budget, because that's the only place where you can make any cuts. So throughout the document, just as more additional information, I've outlined each one of the sections that makes up the total budget, and in this pie chart you can see how each section, what percentage of each section is of your total budget. The assessments are mainly personnel costs as well. Those are positions at the SU that are getting assessed down to your local budget, but I think 85% of the assessments are personnel costs, and then you add that with your local personnel costs, and you get that approximately 60% that we talked about. So personnel costs and then here tuition are the two largest sections. On the next slide, it's just outlining the portion of compensation, which is wages versus benefits. And as you can see here, as we get further out, the benefit sections are getting more and more expensive, and that is kind of taking up a larger piece of that graph than earlier in the years. And that's mainly due to health insurance. Health insurance is we've seen, I think, 5 years of double-digit increases over the last 6 years, and so it's really becoming a non-sustainable increase. Luckily this year, we are in the single digits, still 7.3%. It still does have a significant impact on the budgets, but it's definitely a reprieve to not have those double-digit increases this year. This next graph is just showing the health insurance increase that I just talked about. So you can kind of see the last 3 years, pretty large increases. The state will do something to start curbing these costs. Facilities, the state put out a report last year. They did a collection from all the schools in Vermont and estimated that there's $6 billion. That's very large. $6 billion in deferred maintenance for all schools, and something that is taking center stage in some of the discussions around the state as we look at maintaining these aging buildings and just what the plan is going to be going forward. They're talking about construction aid and how that will impact local taxes. Tuition costs, I pretty much touched on this already, but
Did you want to talk about the inflation expression or what that cost? Sorry. So make sure.
Yeah, so inflation, we are seeing inflation numbers come down. The latest numbers that we're seeing for 2026 is a 2.5% inflation rate, which is down from the 3.2% last year, and I think it was 3.4% the previous year. So we are headed in the right direction. It's, I mean, still an increase that we have to account for in our budgets, but it's nice to see these numbers getting to be a little bit more reasonable. Special education, this is just another pie chart showing the percentage of breakdown for each type of expense that special education budget is similar to that first pie chart we looked at. And as you can see, most of it is personnel cost. For tuition cost, if you actually want to go to the next slide, it just begin showing here just the tuition rates that we're paying in comparison to your tuition rate as well, for both elementary and secondary. And so these are the costs that we have to account for in your budget. The secondary ones, you can see a lot of them are north of $20,000, which is continue to rise. and a couple students move into town, it could have a large impact on your total expense. That's about it. We'll go over as we look at the budget, some of the ones that are impacting Wellsprings for FY27. Not all of them are having as large of an impact this year. But these are the factors that we have to kind of cope with each year. Great, thank you. Any questions on that before we move on to the budget? Before we dive into the main budget, just to go over a few other small reports that were included in the packet. So at the last GRCSU board meeting, the board did approve using 50% of the SU surplus for both the general fund and the special ed fund. They approved putting 50% of that to offset the FY27 assessment. And then the other 50% was to be refunded to the board, to the districts in FY27. So I did update the surplus document that I presented back in August and put that in the packet with the amount that each district would be getting as a refund. So Wellsprings, the general fund surplus for the SU was $208,000, and 50% of that is being refunded. Wellsprings portion is approximately $15,000. And then for special ed, there was $133,000 surplus. 50% of that is being refunded, and Wellsprings portion is approximately $10,000. Just feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Another document that was in the packet was the percentages for the assessment and what percentage district pays of the assessment. That was a request by a board member in one of the districts. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure which one, but so it was that document was being presented to all the board at all board meetings. So if there's any questions, I can take those. And then the last document before we get into the budget was regarding the capital improvement funds for Wellsprings. So I included what the current balance of our capital improvements was, as well as some of the latest projects that we've had since 2023. So as we're looking at the FY27 budget, if there's any large projects that are coming due, the board can decide whether we want to put any of those projects directly into the budget or whether we want to account for those in our capital to pay for those out of our capital. All right. So looking at the budget, fortunately, Wellsprings is in a really good shape with their budget this year. There's some one-time items that are positively affecting the budget, which are resulting in the total expense only being up by $16,000 or 0.3%. Education spending, which is the amount we have to raise in property taxes, is only up by $92,000 or 1.5%. In this environment, with increases that we've been seeing over the last few years, 1.5% is very, very good. This is only one piece of the equation when we look at tax rates. So the board's main objective is to set a budget, and town approves the total expense. But then there's a lot of pieces that we get from the state, which will go into the calculation of the tax rate. A lot of that information we don't have yet. It'll start to trickle in over the next few weeks. The first piece will be the tax commissioner's December 1 letter, which will give an estimate for the yield that has a large piece of the calculation. That number is just an estimate. It's later set as part of the legislative process, usually after town meeting day. And so when we're looking at setting a budget, state tax rates, we really are going based on an estimate that we have from the tax commissioner. We don't have any set numbers. The other two large pieces that we will be getting in late December will be the CLA, which is the common level appraisal, and the long-term weighted ADM. So even And the reason, so those things we don't really start talking about until December. But the reason I wanted to point them out now is just because we're looking good at the 1.5%. Once we get those state factors, it could play a large part. It plays a large part in the calculation of the tax rate, and we could see this number actually have a lot larger impact on tax rates if the state numbers don't come in our favor. So if you have enrollment that's decreased, or if the state yield has decreased, that 1.5% can easily go to a 10% increase in tax rates. Just a caution. So health insurance, 7.3% increase, cost is approximately $28,000. The main item that's still pending is the vocational tuition. There's both a revenue and expense for that. We do not have those numbers yet. We're waiting for the 6 semester rolling average from the state. Tuition expense is based on a 3% increase in rates. There was a drop in some students due to a larger 12th grade class that graduated. So the 12th grade class that graduated is larger than the 6th grade class that's moving up to 7th grade. The SU FY25 assessment refund is in here as a revenue for $25,000. And that's a combination of both the general fund and special ed. All of the SU assessments are based on the second draft of the budget that was presented at the November board meeting. That budget was not approved. Typically, the SU board does approve the budget in November, but we were waiting on some very large numbers from the state still for the special ed budget. So the board decided to put that off to December. Wellsprings had a surplus for FY25 of $121,000. That's also in here as a revenue. The board has 2 options with that amount. They could either put it in here as a revenue and give it back to taxpayers, which will offset educational spending, or they could put a separate item on the ballot to move either a portion or all of it to a capital improvement fund. And then the other, we had a transportation that is down, and that's due to increased revenue that we're receiving. We receive approximately 45% back in reimbursement from the state for our transportation expense. In addition to those items, there were some one-time things that are resulting in your budget not being up so high. We had some staff changes over the last year, and that's the big one between health insurance changes, select plan changes, as well as the staffing changes. It did result in about $130,000 in savings. So that's really helping to drive this down. Tuition expenses down about $15,000 to the students that I mentioned. And then there was a one-time budget correction to the retirement line that was pointed out after the budget was approved last year, which was about $16,000. All staffing in the budget is based on FY26 staffing. Barry has a question.
Yeah, Louis, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering, so as far as the surplus for Middletown Wells, that 121, do we just have 2 choices as far as giving it back to the taxpayers or having that separate light item that would just go to capital improvement, or would that just be up to the board to decide?
Those are the two choices, yes.
So there's no other choice other than those 2?
I mean, you could put other items on the ballot to use those funds for something else, but that's typically, those are the 2 main choices that are usually that are decided between.
Okay, thanks.
If you don't give it back, then the taxpayers have to prove it if they make a mistake. So that's a summary of the budget. Take any questions that you have. Question? I saw Amanda first.
Matt can go first. It's okay.
Oh, it's just a simple question. The capital improvement fund, does that collect interest at all, or is there legal implications there where it can't collect interest and it's just cash.
It does collect interest. We only have one bank account for all of your funds. Just because they're separate funds on the balance sheet, but they're all all the cash is in one account. So all the interest that's earned would be on page 1 under interest revenue. So last year, Wellsprings earned $11,814. So the interest that's being earned on that capital improvement money is going back into the general fund.
It's not going back into capital improvement.
No, it's not.
Thank you. So in a way, it's kind of the interest is kind of like an endowment almost. If we keep adding funds to this, the interest goes back into our general operating fund as revenue.
That is currently how it's being handled, yes.
Okay. So I would say that that's a plus in continuing to have this. I know we are going to wait. I think your advice was to wait to discuss if we're going to allocate funds until we finalize things further. But I'm pro continuing to add to this fund.
The other plus to having that money in the capital improvement fund is that each year we have to take out a tax anticipation note, which is the loan that we use to fund our expenses until we get money from the town and from the state. So your expenses start on July 1, but you don't start getting revenue until September. That's when the first state payment comes. That's usually when the towns start making payment. We need to take out a loan. We use a line of credit. We take money off that line of credit as we need it, and then we pay it off and pay it back when we don't need it. So we have to take money off of that several times throughout the year, and so we're paying an interest expense for that. More money that's in that account helps as a cash flow, and so less money we have to take as a loan. Amanda, the other question.
Yeah. Louis, does this projected $81,779 for transportation, is that 2 buses still?
That is correct.
I still think that we should really look at 1 bus. I know I see time and time again that there's a handful of kids on our second bus in Wells, and I just don't know that we can't make it work with 1 bus.
So Eric, would you like Carol to explore that possibility for the December board meeting?
Yeah, if the board supports that, for sure. I think, there's, a couple of things to think about too for going down to 1 bus is also, can 1 bus pick up students to get them on time and, how long the bus ride that is. I think all that information would be beneficial next month. Mary?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Carol, does the Boys and Girls Club still run the after school program at Wells, or was the attendance so low that they couldn't keep that program going?
Attendance was too low, and so they had their last day on October 30th.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda, go ahead.
Sorry, is this also an appropriate time to discuss the line item around the Board of Education and increasing our stipends that I had discussed, or should that come at a later time?
If it's applied to the budget, probably now would be a good time.
Well, I guess the first thing of that too would be to address Patty's suggestion from last year. Patty had requested that we increase her amount to $1,000. And then she also suggested $500 for the host town and $250 for the non-host town as a separate stipend. to pay their workers, so that total increase would be $17.50. My personal opinion is, I know that Middletown pays their workers, but Wells does not. So I would be in favor of increasing her to the $1,000, but not in favor of the 500 and 250 for the workers. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but we did say that we would address that this budget season as well, and I was able to confirm that that was what she was still looking for.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, okay, so.
The only reason I'm not in favor of the 500 and 250, it's not because I think they shouldn't be, compensated. I just, who would we give the money to, right? We're not going to hand it to Patty and say, disperse this to people within the towns. So I would be in favor of the $1,000 for her, but I think it's a gray area for us to try to pay workers that we don't even know who will be there.
My understanding is 1,000 is not going to her, it's going to the town.
No.
No,
And then
the town was the 500 for the host town and 250 for the non-host town. And
The money, the other money, the non-Patty money would be going to the town offices.
that 500 and 250, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which would pay for running the election, which is more than just the people who are running the election.
So, yeah, so basically it would go to the town clerks, the town office, so basically the town clerk. And, okay,
I would say.
And then we just ask the clerk to do whatever she wants with it. To disperse it amongst her people.
I think that's what she's asking for, if I recall.
Well, it's also the use of the building. So part of the issue is that, like in Rutland Town, for example, they wouldn't do this because Rutland Town is the district, whereas we are two different towns in one district.
So
it doesn't make sense to just charge, it wouldn't make sense to just pay your town to run your own election if that's all that is one town. I mean, technically you could say it's heating the building, it's cleaning the plant, it's all the costs involved in running an election, which is not just the people who are volunteering or being paid.
So you did this, this nice little spreadsheet. So everyone should have access to it. It's in the drive and I got copies here. And I see you have it in there, for that amount. But, so I guess, earlier this year, we kind of had this discussion, and as you said earlier, we kind of kicked it to budget season because we had already approved the budget, for this current fiscal year. So I guess the discussion's on the table, how does the board feel about, moving forward with, Patty's, request, basically, from earlier this year. Actually, it might have even been the year before.
It was.
And if we did move forward with it, it would be adding basically 1,700 to the budget. But then also,
Yeah, if we did all of her requests, it would be a total of a $1,650 increase because we're already paying only 100, and her total request is $1,750. So I definitely think we should be paying more than 100, and I'm fine with I'm even fine with the $1,750. I'm just hesitant. Maybe Lewis has a better insight on if we give a town clerk $500 because they're the host town, do they then what? They claim that on their taxes, but they choose to put heat in the building? It needs to go to somebody. I just don't know how we would do that.
So my recollection of the conversation was for the two different pieces, the 500 and the 250 was going to go to the town to help offset the wages that they were paying their staff that were working the polls. And the 1,000 was also going to the town to help offset the money that's getting paid to Patty. I truly don't recall the stipend going to her directly. I mean, it doesn't matter to us. Either way, we're paying the money. The town is paying her. But it would be either way, for the 750, it would be the town's prerogative to do whatever they want with those funds. They have all the election expenses. We're just helping to reimburse them for a portion of those expenses.
So the $100 that we give her right now, that comes from us, right?
Yes.
So if we make that 100 1,000, it's still coming from us.
That 100, by the way, is just for town meeting. I think that's just what that's for. It's just participating that evening in town meeting. Other than that, it's just like for the moderator, it's just 100 for town meeting. I'm sorry, our annual meeting. Sorry, our annual meeting. And so she's requesting that. So it'd be that 1,000 on top of that, additional would be my.
Yeah, so I guess I was thinking it would be 1,000 total, so like 900 on top of that.
That's the way it sounded.
Okay. Well, either way, and I guess, from my experience helping with the polls and stuff, it's not just a matter of necessarily paying for people being there, but also supplying food and different people coming in at different times.
There's testing the ballots beforehand. That requires a bunch of volunteers, people to come in to make sure the machine is working properly.
So I particularly don't think it
I don't think there's any food in them,
well,
at least not enough.
yeah, town, it wells it. But, well, so let's get back to the money aspect of it. So if we're saying 500 goes to the host town and 250 goes to the non-host town, that's for them to decide what to do with. And I think the 1,000 is just for the district clerk, our district clerk, running these elections. So, again, this is what Patty had suggested, and as a suggestion for compensation. I think in order to help move the budget forward, the board needs to come to some kind of consensus. So.
Can we break this down so I know exactly what we're saying? Because to my knowledge, we're not doing anything for Wells, just Middletown, right?
No,
Or is it
250.
No, 250 for the non-host town, right? So we're giving Patty 1,000 or 1,700 total, and Wells 250.
1,500.
Somehow this doesn't. I don't know.
1,500 for well, 50 for Middletown.
No, reverse.
Yes, reverse.
Yes, 1,500 for Middletown and 250 for Wells.
And if a Wells clerk ever becomes the district clerk, then it would swap.
Yes. Yeah, and I think the 1,000 for the district clerk goes toward the district, that's to the district clerk, but then the other amount is, the way I interpret it, is just to kind of help compensate poll workers for their time. So it's not going that, so, phrasing it this way, that if 1,500 like this coming year is going to go to Middletown Springs, well, that's 1,500 is just because that's who our district clerk is. So, and I think the difference between having a host town or not is because the host town is the one counting all the ballots at night.
Okay.
And, well, so also the non-host town is ferrying those ballots. So that's where some of the money would be for whoever's driving those ballots, which are JOPs.
Okay, so, and then the 500 is given to who and how is that dispersed? Okay, I don't want to see, give them give me $500 and yeah, I'll do
Well,
something
that's
with
what
it.
Amanda was
Okay,
asking.
that's
Yeah.
where I need to know, it can't just, I'm not throwing $500 out and not have
It's
accountability.
essentially to pay for the host.
If we know exactly how it's gonna be done a little bit, I feel comfortable with that, than just, hey, here's $500.
They pay, well, I don't know what Wells would do because they don't pay.
That's what I mean, so Wells doesn't pay, so what are we gonna do with that? And if Middletown, what are they gonna do with that?
I would like to suggest that we currently have Middletown as a clerk because the Wells clerk no longer wanted to do the job.
Right,
Why is there, I don't know that exact reason.
didn't do I, but I'm just saying, just so we have a knowledge of where that 500 is going and where the 250 is going and how it's being dispersed would be, I guess, my only question that I would feel comfortable to know. And if Patty wants to be the district or was it district clerk, I get that, that's fine. But in whatever switches, whenever it happens, but the other 500 and 250 still needs to be accounted for and not just tossed
And
out.
what did we pay her last year? Whatever was budgeted? $100.
So maybe that's
For years.
something that, if the board is okay with, I can reach out and get some clarification on how that would be.
Just clarification would be nice.
As I recall, this was her estimate on the cost for the town. She would, you know, she
Yeah,
gets
it's the
$1,000
cost.
for running it.
They
So the
send
town-
out
If I may
checks to
finish,
everybody who works.
if I may finish. That was her estimate of the town's expenses, whether that's for heat, whether that's to pay their employees. If we trust her, that's what the town requires to do the election for us. And if I heard you correctly, Louis, that check would be sent to the town.
Correct.
Right, so I don't feel it's fair to ask them every little detail about how they're gonna spend it. If we trust that that's her estimate. As far as Wells goes, they still have to heat the building, someone's still gotta run the ballots up here. And that's her estimate for their expense. So I think for the amounts we're talking, 500 and 250, I think we're safe.
We can
I
also
think we
choose
should
different
approve it.
amounts too. We don't have to stick with these amounts.
And that I believe that's gonna require an investigation, which Eric is kind of volunteered to do.
I think
But these,
I think she just said them because we asked for amounts, and she was like, she just said, "Well, half of 500 is 250. Whatever you guys think is best." I think if we approved $1,000 for her tonight and 250 for each town, she would still feel compensated and appreciated. We've put her off for almost 2 years. I don't
Barry?
think the amounts really matter.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, just really quickly, I'm just wondering, like, I'm just looking at the stipend change, and I see that both Rutland Town and Quarry Valley don't pay their district clerk anything, and they're much larger. I didn't know if anyone had a
I'm volunteering.
Yeah,
right.
So,
That's what
so,
I thought.
so it's one of the reasons you have fewer people to get volunteers from. You have fewer volunteers. It's essentially costs more per election for a smaller town. They have to run the same election.
Yeah, but it's like fewer people, obviously, I would think. So I was just
You're
wondering if
only-
you had.
No, it's the same amount of people. It's just fewer people voting. It's the same election.
So the Corey Valley clerk does receive $100 to attend the annual meetings.
Okay.
The Rutland Town and Ira do not have an annual meeting, they just have their town meeting. So there's no payment for those districts, because they're a one-town district.
Okay.
okay,
I would like to make a motion to approve $1,000 for the district clerk stipend and $200 for each town. to be written to the town for them to use for hosting our election.
Okay. Amanda has made a motion to approve the stipends for the district clerk, 1,000 and 250 for each town. Any further
She
discussion?
said
Says
200.
200.
200. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Let's do a roll call for this. So let's do this. Okay. Amanda? Yes.
Aye.
Matt?
Aye. Can I give comment?
Yes or no?
Okay. Yes.
Mary Beth?
No.
George?
No.
Sue?
No.
Meredith?
Yes.
Okay.
I know where you live, Eric.
That's why they pay you the big bucks.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this. I think,
Eric, if I could just say quickly, I liked your idea of just having some clarity from Patty.
She is giving us.
yeah, Matt?
So say this is a specialized position with, it's not going to be easy to find someone with who knows this type of thing to do. It's a once in a every election time. I'm happy to negotiate downwards and come to a consensus across the board for a lower stipend. If seems too high for most, but I think we do need to raise it or do some compensation here besides the $100 clerk fee.
And I just think that since we already put it off for almost 2 years, we really need to decide now. And she's already explained what the money's for. It's to compensate the workers in Middletown because Middletown pays their workers. Maybe that means Wells decides to pay their workers for what parts they do for our election, knowing that Middletown does the same, and the fact that we're giving them the funds to do so. She's already explained 2 different meetings. There's meeting minutes attached in the materials as well, where she's already come and spoken to us. I don't know what clarity we would get.
Okay. I think the clarity was just around specifically ensuring what those funds were going to be used for. Yeah, no, I just, in hearing everything, and then also, Mike, having a conversation with, the district clerk in the past. Yeah, I'll probably vote yes on this. Yeah. Motion carries. Okay, getting back to the budget. So before we look at any more of the stipend thing, did anyone have any other questions for Lewis on the budget?
Eric, I wasn't sure if this was a time where we could potentially talk about like a winter sports line item, or if that's something that we want to do at a later date. I know it's brought up in past meetings as far as either creating a fund that would, obviously benefit both schools and then either having it funded for 1 year or a few years. And again, I wasn't sure if anything of the surplus could be used. I guess Lewis kind of clarified that before, but it's been on my mind. It's been on, the minds of a few people I've talked to at the school. And I just wanted to see if this was a good time. If not, we could always put it on the agenda for December.
Well, I mean, I think, at our last meeting, there was a bit of a conversation on, if I remember correctly, on adding it to the budget or, having something about, so yeah, I mean, what specifically did you want to talk about? I mean, if it's related to the budget, yes, to answer your question.
Okay. I mean, I think that in whatever capacity the board would potentially agree to, I think that we should be funding a winter sports program for each school for each year. It's now pretty much on the backs of PTA if Wells does any fundraising, but I know FFE does a ton around winter sports. And then also, we are in conjunction and talking to Jess about kind of, seeing how, what funds she can kind of draw from. And I just think it's a legacy program. A lot of kids are involved in it. I know the parents are really invested as well. So if there was something that I would like to bring to the table, to talk about, I think that would be important to discuss funding. I think as of right now, FFE and Jess and the parents of Middletown Springs had like a $10,000 kind of like budget that we wanted to start raising money towards. And that was kind of like our top. And with that $10,000, a lot could be done for the winter sports program. So,
Can I just clarify a question? Mary Beth, just clarifying question. So when you say winter sports, what are you referring to, just for clarification? So I think there might be many different definitions of a winter sports program. So when you're using that term, what specifically are you referring to? Is it more like a lifetime sports that other schools have run, or?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's our tapping into the GIST program for Middletown. I know it's a little bit different for Wells, but then it's access to either Pico or Killington. And then it's that, those 6 weeks that are dedicated to, that ski snow program. And then in the past, we've done ice skating at Georgetti as well.
Thank you. So some people hear winter sport to think basketball. That
Right.
isn't winter sport.
Sorry
So
about
I
that.
just wanted to clarify for community just what you're referring to. Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Amanda?
I just wanted to add, this year the Southern Vermont Arts Center also offered GISP to the Wells kids. So they had like a theater program that was offered during the same time. So if this is something that the board is in favor of doing, I would say that it would be used, to give students the choice for all of the available programs during the GISP season.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it all comes down to how much, and then also, we're gonna fund this for next year, we're gonna fund it for every year after, and then,
Maybe we could use like $40,000 of the bus money and split it between the two schools and have a bus to go to the GISP program.
Cut the bus, yeah.
We haven't looked at the transportation piece yet, but,
So I think there is also a big difference between the Middletown and the Wells program. And correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, but the Middletown is a school-run program, but the Wells program is not.
No, it is not. It hasn't been for a while, I don't believe. We have very few kids who go because they're transported by parents.
It's a volunteer thing in
It
Wells,
is.
apparently. Well, volunteer.
I mean, I think that based on the difference in the programs, you really can't fund them the same way.
No.
The Middletown program is funding the whole school. whereas only a select few in the Wells.
So we'd have to fund both schools.
There's a Middletown program. They transport them
Yes,
though, correct?
right, correct.
Yes.
And so I guess my question is what would it cost to fund both schools at that point?
Have that in December. I mean, I think from a strategic plan standpoint, we have talked about increasing opportunities for our students, but what is the cost of that? And I think, we do not want to have a program that limits access for some students. Said this program that all our students are going to actually make sure that they can get, transport them there, transport them back. We look at ski rentals, the total cost of Rutland Town. Does anything around 40,000+ for
They have
Rutland Town.
30,000 budgeted for 350 kids.
That's for transportation and for all their students. So just a ballpark. I mean, just to look at numbers.
Yep.
But it would be less than that. But
Mary?
Yeah, Carol, do you think if the funding was there, it would enable Wells and Wells parents to kind of jump on board and make that a program that maybe you had in the past that has dropped off in previous years? Or just because I know we have a lot of parents who do volunteer, even though the bus transport is there, which is fantastic. And, but we have that support from our parents so far. So just wondering if the funds were there, if you think it would be something that Wells family would utilize.
I mean, I think it's something to be worth talking to them about. I know when I taught there and the program was implemented, we offered alternatives where kids stayed at school and were part of specific clubs and stuff instead of being maybe going skating or going snowboarding. We didn't at that point have 100% buy-in to going to participate in a sport per se. So I think if you want, I have no issue trying to gather that information. And right now, I believe last year we had 14 students that participated. It was somewhere right around there. So, I mean, I'm willing to look into it. I can bring information back to the next board meeting.
Could this be on the same scale as what Middletown Springs is doing?
So I guess I'm clarifying, do you want it to be that everybody is going to participate and go?
Yeah. Or have the option.
Or have the option.
I'm not
But then
sure.
if they don't choose the option, what's the option?
Yeah, I guess that was my question. I don't know how it's done,
Yeah, so the other schools that run it, including there's different activities, so they can choose between skiing. Rutland Town does bowling, gymnastics, ice skating. So they come up with a bunch of activities that kids can choose from. I know Pony does bowling, skiing. They do activities in the school, like I think one year they did cooking and art and dance and other activities. So they do school-based activities as well as outside activities.
Okay.
So it would be 100% participation in one activity. Everyone chooses an activity, we do a rotation, whatever.
Okay.
It just wouldn't necessarily be off school grounds for some.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, especially if, we're looking at, something that it can increase some more opportunity for students. I can't see, another, good use for money. So that's something we can have for December. We'll see how that affects the budget. We'll take a look at those.
And just to be clear, there's no way we would be able to use some of our surplus this year without bring it to the voters to have like a line item, a yes or no vote. Is that how it works?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so that was my next question too, in terms of what we have. So you currently already have the surplus in the budget. So, that surplus is going to offset, FY27 budget. And that's, I think that's a good thing. When you look at, the cost of, education year round and, to see a 1.5% increase in the budget, I think, for next year is phenomenal, even though if some of those factors are one time or temporary. I think it's a good way to start off the budget. Amanda?
I just had a clarifying question for Mary. Mary, were you asking about this year's surplus in reference to kids possibly attending this year?
I mean,
Like now this season?
well, I mean, I know like kind of behind the scenes, Jess has done a ton of work already to kind of get those options for Middletown parents already in the works. So I'm not sure if it would be feasible. I mean, I would be totally for it. I don't know if it would be feasible to use any of that surplus for this year's GIST program. I mean, that's kind of like out of my wheelhouse, but I'm just open to any and all money, surplus or not, potentially being used for this great, I don't know, not service, but this activity that I know a lot of kids in Middletown look forward to, parents look
Right.
forward to, and we take advantage of.
Okay, I think today is the deadline for Wells to sign up. So I just wanted to clarify that I don't think it's anything that can happen right now, but when you said that, I thought that might be what you meant. So
So I would recommend the board consider this for next year.
yeah.
Not this year. We're
Right.
we're nowhere near ready to go for this year.
But
Oh,
we,
Right,
we,
right.
we
Yeah, I
That's
could,
what I thought. I thought Mary meant something else. Okay.
could we also consider putting it on the ballot that we want to put in $10,000 or some small percentage of any surplus towards a winter program?
You can, but if you put it on the ballot and it gets voted down, then you don't have the money, where if you just put it into the budget, it's a small impact to the budget.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, and I was gonna say something similar, like for the sake of conversation, we're talking about FY27 budget and, I think we start trying to do stuff in our current fiscal year, it's gonna complicate things and,
Can I ask a question, Jessica? Did you sign up to school with the PICO program this year?
Yeah, so what I did is, I put together kind of two options just because, Killington also offered, the same type of program with, the kids getting free rentals and things like that. And so I put together two different options, kind of like a PICO option with snow play and structured snowshoeing, with ice skating at the end, kind of as like a 7th week celebration of winter sports.
Okay.
And so I sent out a survey last week to families, the majority of people picking PICO. So I kind of reserved our sessions with PICO, but I didn't send out all the full paperwork yet.
Okay. Is there any way to roll in some, Wells Village school kids in the program?
So we are making it more of a community thing. So it's not kids going here and kids going here and kids going here. We're going to all get on one bus and go to one place together. The bus fits 56. Unless you guys want to gather some money for coaches, those fit 60 or 70 friends. We could do 2 buses. But I'm having hard enough time getting
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for a way for
for
the
away, yeah.
Wells to,
And Carol and I talk a lot. I even asked if maybe I could get a bus from her parking lot one day, but it doesn't work like that. So we would need 2 buses minimum for both schools because we have to have the chaperones on the bus as well.
that's something you would ask your families down there if they'd be interested in doing that?
Are you talking about for this year?
Yes.
So today is the deadline, and I'm fairly certain that those that are committing have committed to where they're going.
Okay.
I think it's fair enough to say look into it for next year.
Okay.
But if we can do something joint, that would be great.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, I think those are good things to have for maybe a second draft. All right, any more discussion on the budget? Amanda?
Sorry, guys. I know Sue always looks excited when I raise my hand. The summer school is 3,500, and it's for the Wells district. I was wondering if the principals felt like that amount was still good, and if Middletown was having a summer school program in the works, and if that 3,500 was sufficient last year, or if it should be adjusted. Or I know Wells didn't have a lot of kids at the summer school. I don't know what Middletown had, or if that number should be.
So last year we ran a different model for our summer schools. We had hubs throughout the SU and teachers were shared across the SU and students went to different buildings based on location and so it was an SU expense that was then assessed down to each district based on the number of students participating. And that was just for the academic program. The enrichment program we run through the Boys and Girls Club, which doesn't have a cost.
Okay. Any other budget questions? I think
the only other piece of facilities, which we're going to touch on later, under new business role.
sounds good because I'm going to move us on. Unless there was anything else you needed from us on the budget. So, okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
I really quick, I have one item.
Sorry. Eric, you skipped the rest of my stipends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked if there was anything else.
You said before
I
you
know.
skipped for Lewis.
Well, okay. So, you're asking for an increase to the budget of, or suggesting on your
Total increase
spreadsheet.
of $4,700.
Okay.
And that includes the clerk money.
Well, that includes the clerk money.
It doesn't include the town money. So it would really be $5,100 to include that 200 to each town for a total increase. And it would give the board chair $200 additional dollars a year. And it would give each board member $200 additional dollars each year. And it would keep our SU stipends the same. And it suggests compensation for committee work.
Yep. Okay. Any thoughts on this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I have a concern with the committee work. You're talking about another 4 things to have to track monthly with stipends. I mean, if you want to, if you're looking to raise your stipends, and the board agrees, it should just be part of your overall stipend. That to not have to track on a per meeting basis. It just doesn't make sense to be paying board members on a per meeting basis. It's part of your work, you attend committee meetings.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment in terms of committee work. I think, as you can take out as much work as you want to do as a board member if you don't have time, but it's also in part a community service as well. So, I think it's, as far as the committee stipends go, it's a nice thought, but I don't think it'll work. It doesn't.
That's okay. The other thing too that I didn't include in here is that like Rutland Town and Corey Valley also pay their vice chair the same as their chair, and we do not seem to do that unless it's just not written down. But I had noticed that after I created this, so I don't know if the vice chair should also get the same or not. But we're not asking for $3,200 or $2,800 like Rutland Town, so 9 and 7 seem like pretty low numbers.
Okay. anyone else want to weigh in on the stipends or,
Community service.
um, also, you know, we can also, you know, talk about this more in the second draft as well, next month. I think, if folks want to think about it, maybe, I don't know, it's just a suggestion. But if anyone had anything to say now would be the time. As far as changing the stipends.
Yeah, community service. We're not doing this to make money. This is stuff that you're supposed to be doing as part of your community. You got elected here because you wanted to be here. You knew it wasn't gonna be, it's not a, and when you're on the, and when you sit at home on a TV screen, you're not making a transportation problem. I mean, you're increasing your pay by doing what? You still show up once a month. You show up to the meetings that you choose to show up on. Raise it another $200? Really? It's supposed to be a part of the community and volunteering your services. I don't get it.
I just think as a board member, it's more than just attending a monthly meeting. I think there's a lot of board members that put a lot of time in to reviewing materials and working on community engagement and putting
But that was
ourselves out
still your
there and
choice,
doing,
Amanda.
Hold on a second.
and doing other things. And I think to say that board members just show up once a month is not really a fair statement. I think we work all day, every day at our job and meeting our community. And that's why our community elects us. So I would just like to clarify that just showing up one day a month is not what I do as a board member. Maybe that's what others do, but I don't think that's what our board does. I think our board members put a lot of time in to reviewing materials and, you know, creating thoughts and being successful. So.
Okay.
I would also like to add that in terms of this Rutland Town, the board chair and vice chair perhaps getting the same amount would only make sense if for some reason the board chair was unavailable for a prolonged period of time. Because I think what the chair does versus what the vice chair does is a lot more involved. And they should not be paid the same.
Yeah, I think, just for the sake of time, I'm gonna suggest we table this and pick this up at our next meeting. Because we have more to cover tonight. We have other things to talk about and, I'm sure, you know, just looking at the clock, I think that if folks want to give this, those who already have made their mind up, it's fine. More thought, think about this and come back next month when we look at our second draft. I would imagine if the board wanted to make changes to this suggested amount or something like that, that's something that we could add on the fly, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it's not a significant amount, but so you know, I'm fine with that. If anyone objects, does anyone object to that? Just because it's getting late. I don't want to keep everyone here too long. Okay.
I don't object to what you're saying. We should put it off, and I don't know what's gonna happen in the next month or so. But I don't think we should be looking at any increase in our compensation until we get the teacher contract, so.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's a good move on our part.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on, superintendent's reports.
Thanks, Eric. There's only one thing I really want to highlight tonight. The rest, we'll have to answer questions. You will notice that in my report, there's information that is already outdated. We do know that this is with Act 73 and the Vermont Redistricting Task Force. Things are pretty fast moving. On Sunday, I do apologize for emailing you on Sunday afternoon, but I thought it was important to be aware of what's going on. But there were two maps that were being considered as of Sunday, which is the CTE, which is around our 13 CTE centers, and then there is the CSA, or the Consolidated, or the Cooperative Education Services Model. On Monday, the 10th, I watched the second half of the redistricting task force, and the task force had voted to move one map or model forward, and that was the Cooperative Services Model, the CSA, which was interesting because that was the model that Secretary Saunders, who did address the committee, did say that that was the one that did not meet the spirit of the intent of Act 73. But that's the one that the board, the committee ultimately decided to move forward with. I know there was some very good discussion. I do, I don't want any of these comments to be seen as slighting the committee. I know they work very hard. There's just it's kind of an impossible task. They're being given an impossible timeline to create a map that somehow would resolve all these issues or problems. I think as they looked at different lines, came up with a whole variety of other issues or problems. But the big question that people asked, I've been asked, well, what does that mean for us now around this cooperative services model? And so really it's along the lines of our 5 DSA regions. But it's not, as when Governor Scott initially rolled out his plan, he had said we're going to divide the state up into 5 districts. It's not doing that. What it's really taking a look at is within, like, say, the Southwest Vermont region, that we would look at how do we, have more regional approach. So we look at shared services around special education, transportation, other things along those lines. Do we look at a comprehensive, more regional high school model? That's something which you'll see is that they're looking to, in the report that was sent out, they talked about West Rutland being the location for a regional high school for Mill River, Olney, Proctor, West Rutland, and Otter Valley. Now, of course, where we're going to get the money to build a new high school and refurbish, so there's just a lot there. So it's just, a lot of us, and the key part about this also is moving away from forced mergers. They also said we don't want to force any mergers, so we're looking more for strategic voluntary mergers, which is kind of how we got to this place. It's because going back 8 years ago when we initially had these mergers, we thought that we're going to volunteer. A lot of it was forced and was we had a lot of issues or problems, but through this new model, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. I know that there will be a regional approach. So I know that there will be some regional discussions about what's best for us in the next 3 to 5 years. I know that there's different phases to this plan. So I don't know the exact timeline when this will all work out. I think that's something which the legislature now has to kind of figure out and come back with. I'm not going to speculate in terms of what's going to happen during this legislative session, but I do know there are just a lot of questions I, as a superintendent, have about what this looks like, what this means. I know I'll be reaching out to our senators and representatives to have discussions with them. This is where we are at. So we thought we may have more clarity, and it's clear as mud. At least we know that this is the path we're moving forward, but we don't know what that means for us, what that may look like. So, so I'll leave it at that. I'm sure, can answer any questions at this time, but what this means for Wells Springs, I don't know. I think that's it's really to be determined. Don't be decided upon. So
I feel like this is a good sign in that they're taking their time to find the right solution rather than rushing a process that is as complicated as you alluded to.
Correct. And I believe in the conversations that were had would be that they went with a map, like a CTE. They were even discussions saying, just going back and saying, here's our research and we need more time. I think, like I said, I've watched every redistricting task force, and a few I've attended in person, but like I said, they've had long, thoughtful discussions around this, but it is a very complicated issue to resolve. But it's not just you know, like I always say, like, it's like going to a restaurant and get a menu with crayons and redraw a map. They're just, you know, there's so many issues around school choice, around independent schools, private schools, public schools. You know, what makes sense around regional alignment, you know, how far our students have to travel, what the difference is, school construction in terms of, that's gonna be the next thing is facility studies that they're gonna have to engage in to take a look at, you know, while this facility may house, you know, be able to house certain individuals, but it might be in not great shape. It may cost millions of dollars to refurbish this. So I think there's a lot there. But this does, I think, you know, show that they're instead of rushing forward, that they're trying to have a more pragmatic approach to this. So.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just considering where they're at now, and it's once they actually make their recommendation and they finalize everything, you know, I think that'll help explain things, just how things just move around and,
Right.
but, you know,
So the timeline is, so the redistricting task force, the members will receive a first draft on this, November 17th. And then they'll reconvene on November 20th. And that's when they will develop a final draft or a report that will then go to the legislature. And then once it goes to the legislature, then that's where we will start to get a better understanding in terms of what's going to happen, what the next steps are going to be. Like I said, the potential timeline of what that may look like, because I said, you know, the 4 phases that were laid out around, phase 1 is the assessment of regional planning. Phase 2, a pilot cooperative initiatives. Phase 3, evaluation and refinement. And phase 4, expansion and integration into regional education framework. So in terms of what the timeline is for all those phases is yet to be determined. You see that you know, there is a tiered or approach to this. It's not going to be just July 1, here we go. So,
Mary?
Yeah, just really quickly, I'm just wondering, Chris, like if the legislators have to go with this, or can they just say, well, this doesn't really bring us where we want to go. We're now tasking the Senate Education Committee. You bring up 3 maps and.
Yeah, no, so the point of the committee was to provide at least one map or model for the legislature to consider.
Okay.
All along, the legislator could, you know, even if they provide 3 maps, could say, you know, this doesn't really meet our needs, or we don't feel comfortable with this, and could vote no, and we could find ourselves, you know, with another committee, look at another map, or look at a different structure. So they don't have to move forward with this.
But we're still stuck with the foundation formula.
Well, that I think, but the foundation formula, they need a model to really start to tell us how that's going to impact our communities. Because without that model,
You don't know.
we don't know. Correct.
Applying the money.
Right. So there are certain aspects of Act 73 that are still moving forward. DOE still has deliverables that they have to provide. I was at an all-day strategic planning meeting last week at Killington around statewide graduation requirements, and which you know, may have some impact. It's, you know, interesting that some high schools currently have only 16.5 credits, while there's at 28.5. So there's a wide range of credits in terms of where we're at in the state, and I think it's just trying to better align our schools. But so there's a lot out there with Act 73. It's not just this map. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, getting close to the end, so, and,
I think we're just getting
to the end of the year.
We're just getting the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
That's a freaking nightmare.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is there's also the Commission on the Future of Public Education, and, you know, I don't know, it's, you know, at one point in time, it was like, you know, what are we gonna do? And now it's just like, kind of like wait and see what comes out of all this too. I think as much, you know, advocating that's been done, it's definitely been listened to. You know, the fact that the task force had, you know, 4 public engagement sessions instead of 2, and so yeah, it's definitely from my perspective, you know, after going to the Rutland task force and public engagement that they had. It kind of gave me a new perspective on the what they have to try to achieve in these maps. And they outlined it in their presentation pretty well. And everyone's situation is unique to themselves. And so, you know, after having conversations with a couple of task force members, you know, I can't imagine that the trying to come up with 3 maps. So, but okay.
I'll continue to keep you posted as I have information, but I think it would be a bit of a lull until the legislative session begins. So that's something being followed.
And I'll say, you sent out a couple of those task force updates. I appreciate those emails too, because I'm not following everything, you know, minute by minute.
Yeah. Maybe it's more just keeping the loop that because there, like I said, there are people who feel very strongly about this, and there's many layers of advocacy, and I think it's just we know that with the CTE, one of the concerns was around the supervisory union or supervisory district, and that's been the big discussion around. Well, when will that be determined? That's because that does impact, you know, what happens in our communities. So whether SU or SD, and someone who's operating SU, I can you know, validate, you know, there are a lot of benefits of an SU. But I can also say, as someone who attends 5 board meetings a month, that there are also some benefits of an SP. Somebody's super good to have 1 board meeting a month, so just, you know, but that's selfish. It's, you know, you have to look at what's best for kids. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Did anyone have any other questions on the superintendent's report? I see you have in there just open school board positions coming up for next year. So Amanda and Matt are up for re-election again. Do both of you plan on rerunning?
I'm personally not sure if I'm going to rerun.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe stepping down due to work stepping up and the birth of my new son.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I want to really give the board work its due time and energy, and so I need to think about it. But I'm on the fence there as we're getting into, you know, these important discussions that are coming up. Would love to see someone step up and potentially run against me, and I would, yeah, be excited to hand it over to somebody with the enthusiasm and energy to take on the board work. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think whatever you decide, you know, that's for you. Usually this time of year, just in terms of if we know someone's not running, just try and recruitment, just active recruitment for any potentially vacant positions coming up. So that's why I asked.
And if that's the case, then yeah, let's go ahead and start recruitment.
Okay. All right. And, you know, if you change your mind, you could always put your petition in. I think the deadline's the end of January. So,
yep.
But I think the last couple of years, regardless of whether there was a potentially vacant position coming up, or seat, I should say, not position, I always put something out front porch forum just to, you know, just in that, you know, encouragement for community involvement. So, okay. All right. So we'll move on to our principals reports. Carol, staring right at me.
Just a couple of highlights from the principal's report before I talk about our SIP. We did just finish our parent-teacher conferences. They were student-led. They were wonderful. We had great participation. During that time, we had our fall book fair, and I'm happy to say that thank you to Lisa Madison and to everyone who volunteered. We were able to sell enough. They have two options. One is like the full cart option. The other one's a tabletop, and we are going to be able to maintain keeping the bigger book fair, so that it's always a great thing for our school, and teachers love it and the kids love it. We did have our second school choice fair on October 30th. Middletown came to Wells, and we had 7 schools there. An 8th that provided information that was not able to attend, but we were there the full morning. Patricia Swain and Mia Koskahicki put things together, and I think it was a really great program for our kids for the morning. They learned a lot, and they seemed really enthused by everything that happened. So it was really great. It was really a great job, I think. That's about all I'm going to say about the principal's report.
Okay.
Looking at our SIP, just so that you know, in Wells, the first goal is about our math and increasing our math scores and instruction. And just to kind of let you know that our Math Back Fluency program is really starting to show benefits for kids. And we are doing professional development with our new Bridges program. Every Friday, we have a Figure It Out Friday in the lunchroom. When kids finish their lunch, they have options for grade level math work, and they just take it and go work in groups or by themselves. And for each piece of it that they complete, they have a punch card. And when they finish the punch card, there's a scratch off, and they don't know what they're earning, but the kids seem really excited about it, and that's been going very well. I just started to do math club again, holding it on Tuesdays. Students are welcome to come. We do problem solving, we do games, and I enjoy doing it. And right now I think we have 2 available slots. So that they'll be full. Our second goal is really to implement evidence-based instruction for writing. And Tyler Wiedemann, who is the new curriculum coordinator, I visit with him every 2 weeks, and that's something that he's really trying to help us figure out. And he's looking into programming, talking to our teachers about what they're using right now, kind of what's working, really what isn't, but there's nothing set right now. And I know that across the SU, that's an area that we're really looking to improve. So I appreciate his help, and I think we'll be set to go with something great next year. And then the third goal is around, it's talking about increasing our collaboration between teachers, special educator, our homeschool coordinator, everyone about our social emotional learning. And right now we have, I think we've seen a huge difference in just attitude and in things that are happening within the school. We have had a homeschool coordinator since January of this year, and previously we had gone for a year without any kind of counselor, other than a private-based counselor who comes in and provides services to certain kids 1 day a week. So that has been a huge help for us. We also have benefited in that area from Dr. Newell, who comes in and works with our EST team to help look at the students with behavioral needs, and helps us develop plans for that. Our Bridges program brought in some behavior specialists, and we have been able to utilize their expertise as well to help with students who are not part of the Bridges program, but who we need to really identify and support. And so I feel like overall, the 3 goals that we have, we're on good pace, and we're doing the right things to make sure that we can make those things happen. If you look at our fast bridge testing from the fall, and usually there's a summer slide, and so we wouldn't really look to see any really impressive scores, but in the A math area, we have 17% of the students who landed in, or who had advanced in their growth, which for us is huge. That has been an area in our school that has needed improvement for a very long time. And I think having Bridges program and the other things that all of our teachers are doing to support it are really helping, and it's starting to show within our students. I also think we went a full year without having an interventionist and without having a really well-run EST, and Sean Du Bois, who is our interventionist, is doing a phenomenal job and is very organized. She has the program just running very smoothly. She's always available to our teachers and to our parents, and she's providing a lot of supports. And I think you can see in our early reading scores, and I apologize because I don't have last year's score to look at, but 32% of our kids are low risk. And for us, the number of high risk students went down, which was probably the most important thing. And that was pretty much across the board in all of our testing. And we didn't get asked to talk about it, but I think our VitCap scores from the spring also showed a lot of growth and real potential for what we're doing and how it's improving. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Yes.
From Middletown Springs, from the principal's report, just a few highlights. October is always a really fun month. The student council kicked us off with a great spirit week. So a lot of camaraderie amongst the staff, which then leads to camaraderie against the students. So that was great. We had a school-wide class trip to Smoky House Center in October, where the students actually got to plant trees in the orchard. The school choice was also on there. That was really nice just to go over 2 wells with our 6th grade students. We also had our final soccer game at Wells. That was really nice just to have both of the teams there. We also had a really great ref who was also present. And so it was just really nice to see both of the teams kind of come together. We had some cookies afterwards, so that was nice. And we are really looking forward to going to Wells November 21st, just because they do really great stuff with math fluency. And so we're going to try and have like an academic field day. So we're going to go over there for an assembly, have lunch together, and do an academic field day where they're going to be working on fluency strategies together. In terms of our SIP, our goals are very similar to Wells. So the first 2 goals have to do with increasing the math and writing. Our master schedule was kind of reorganized so that teachers had enough time for reading, writing, and math, especially given our new programs, Bridges and CPM. We have also had 100% of our instructional teachers have had walkthroughs, and we've also started peer observations, which the teachers have really actually enjoyed. Our interventionist is fantastic. So she has already flagged certain students. She's already working in small groups with them, is in collaboration with the teachers. There's lots of professional development, especially in regards to those new programs for math that our teachers are getting. And just like Wells, we are working on our school-wide writing process. I also meet with Tyler, the curriculum coordinator. So we all know kind of where we have to go, and we're just kind of getting there together. We have reviewed the Savers data, any low scores that students scored themselves. We have spoken with them. Our counselor does a really great job scheduling them. We have a lot of just students that we see have particular needs, and the counselor has added those students to her schedule. We also, for our 3rd goal, there's a lot of SEL collaboration. We have all school cauldrons assemblies where we talk about a theme for each month. And so the teachers work on 1 to 2 activities a week in their classrooms that have to do with that theme so that everyone is working on the same SEL lessons. In terms of our fast bridge, just like what Carol said, sometimes you do see a slip for the summer. Just everybody's having fun. And so for our fall scores, I was very impressed. We have 46% of our students advanced with the CBM reading and 31% advanced in math. I have noticed that the fluency, like those quick math facts, We need some work on that. And so that's why Carol and I have been working together so that I can kind of get a little bit more of what Wells is doing in terms of fluency for math and reading and incorporate that more. And so that's all.
Great. Thank you both. Any questions? Mary Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, a quick thank you to Middletown Springs staff and to Jess just about the Veterans Day lunch. My father and I attended, so we get to see other family members and other community members who don't usually come into the school. And I just got so many responses of like how great the kids were and like how amazing, the lunch was. So I really appreciate that. And also student council gets to pitch in, which is great. I know they were super pumped about that. So I wanted to say thank you. And then also, Jess, I didn't notice if on your principal's report, if you had any concerns about staffing. I just saw that was one of the things that Carol brought up, that, still, 29 out of the days that we've been present in school, Wells has been understaffed. And in previous years, substitute staffing has been, on our radar as far as a struggle that, comes up pretty frequently.
We have been pretty lucky in terms of not a lot of people calling out on the same days. And so there's times where if somebody calls out on a Thursday and that happens to be a flex day for another staff member, that staff member can cover. So we've lucked out. Sorry.
Okay, great. Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on to just the facility report. I see Carol, Jessica, and Ernie kind of worked on this report. George asked for it to be put on. I don't know. You guys want to talk about this some more?
I mean, just a couple of things, unless you guys want to pitch in too. It's good to see that on Act 73, they're thinking about facilities costs, which they didn't do in Act 46. Because some of these items we inherited. And I remember the first time I walked downstairs at Wells a long time ago, there was a puddle. It's being fixed now the right way, finally, after all this time. And it's too bad it took that long. And Ernie's doing a great job. You guys are doing a great job with this. So I just want to say that. But it does take work and it does take expense to keep these buildings going. There's the leakage issue down there. Boilers are kind of old. They're going to need attention. Some things were upgraded, like the fire system, the telephones, a couple of glitches here and there. You can't fight lightning, but those things needed to be upgraded down there as well. Looking at Middletown Springs, we have the water system, which is still an ongoing project. We've got some drainage issues out here outside the building. The note on the foundations, the cracks and crumbling cement, where is that exactly?
In the front, the whole front of the building.
The old part of the building? Okay. This control tech issue, is that something we need to discuss? You're asking if we need them in the future? Systems?
Yeah, and if you look at the preventative maintenance contract that Middletown has, it's very different from Wells. It is a rather large part of the budget, I think, and I'm just not sure if it's needed. I don't want to say it's not needed, and then we come into problems with heating, and then it ends up costing more than if we have the preventative care. But they have been here quite often the past 2 weeks, and we are running the building much more efficiently. We've kind of found different things to do to just make sure that we're not wasting the energy.
Is there any way we could sign a district contract, not by the school? Would there be any benefit to that?
I do have Ernie looking into some different things. We have, I believe it goes until next October. So we have a few months to work on this.
Time to do that then. You're also looking at the old part of the building, which, Wells Village also has, and the constant battle of keeping the wood, the exterior wood on there. Has anybody looked into something like hardy board? I mean, I don't feel the need to keep this up to, on the list of preserved buildings or anything like that. If it made sense to go with something better, could we do it? Save money in the long run.
I'm not sure. I didn't even look into that.
Could town even go with that?
I don't.
Well,
I don't, I
the
know
only
Wells
thing-
went with our school. I know that was an issue at one point. They
I
didn't touch it.
know that when they did the roof, that they got a matching grant for the slate roof, which required, some historical stuff to be maintained on the original.
Right. That's the same thing with Wells. We have historical stuff that they are not touching. So there's a difference.
Yeah, I don't know how long that goes out, but it's a slate roof, so it could be that we had to continue that for 50 years. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I don't know either, but the wood seems to be a constant battle in both schools.
Yes.
And, with it, we need to find a better way. We're not getting anything out of it for being on any list.
Yeah, but they
So
don't.
let's
Yeah, but
make
if
it-
we
They don't
weren't,
let you
we,
touch it.
we weren't, we wouldn't have been getting, it was like $20,000 or $40,000 for the slate roof. It was a matching grant for the original part of the building.
So you are getting some out of it.
Yes, we
because-
are getting something out of it.
Because it's historical and you're keeping it that way.
So
'Cause
could we get a grant to do the wood side?
it's
Maybe.
possible. Because a lot of the other places that I can think of, their windows, they couldn't replace their windows because the windows had to be exactly the way they were originally.
We
And,
already did on the school, so.
yeah, so,
I know Rick Beal, he had talked about with Middletown Springs being on the historical.
Yeah,
list,
Rick,
that there
Rick was the one who,
There were
coordinated
certain,
that.
there were certain things that could be done and couldn't be done. Mary?
Yeah, just really quick. I know the control tech has been an issue in the past, not an issue, but it's come up in the past in past board meetings. Does it have to be a 3-year contract? Do you know, Eric? Or maybe that's something that we can look into if we could pose a year contract with them. It just seems like a big commitment with $4,000 a quarter almost. So just an idea going forward.
I don't know. I know that, historically, back in 19, 20, Wells didn't have a contract with Control Tech. Middletown
Right.
Springs did. And, when, I think the principal at the time, got Control Tech on board, I had asked, could this be done, as a district? And the response was no. It's like they wouldn't do it. But, I'm hoping that it would make sense that, and it doesn't make sense that there's two different, I mean, I've never seen the contracts, but there's two separate ones. So, so, and I know last year, because it was brought up, when we looked at the budget, it was that huge line increase on the maintenance lines because of these contracts. But, yeah, I mean, I think, well, if you're looking into it, I think that's great, especially, if it's just for preventative maintenance and that's it, they're only coming out every other month or
they slip
whatever.
a bill in every now and then.
What's that?
They slip a bill in every now and then. Because they find something during their preventative maintenance.
Oh, I look at the warrant. Oh, yeah, I look at everything. Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, any questions?
Oh, one other note, and, you've mentioned updating the 5-year plans, which are these guys, which we definitely should do. And knowing that we're gonna be looking at the budget next month, could we get together this month, to update these so we can have those in the packet for next month? So everybody can take a look and see what's coming up immediately, what's down the road. And then my other suggestion would be to have this on the agenda every month. But next month, we'll just talk about what's changed since this month. Not to make a long thing out of it, but I think the facilities condition of the buildings, everybody should have their eye on it every month, not every quarter. But that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Mary?
Yeah, just really quickly. Eric, can you explain to me very quickly how the capital maintenance improvement fund is utilized? Only because in the board packet, I think since 2023, we've only maybe used, I think maybe 7 or 8,000 of that 260K that we have. Is that up to the principals to say, hi, to the board or to Lewis or whatever? But I'm just wondering, since we have a good amount of money in there, how is that fund utilized?
My understanding is that, the capital improvement funds are there until we need it for, the improvement. Yeah. I mean, not we, but, I think, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if one of our budget expense items is used up because of unforeseen or, boiler goes, we have this money for these major projects. I mean, I can't imagine what a furnace would cost today's standards. It would be astronomical.
It's there for items that, regular maintenance would not fall into capital maintenance funds. It's for big ticket items. So if a boiler would go down, then we come back to the board and ask if we could use capital maintenance funds to purchase it, or, a new boiler, or if something would happen to the roof, something along those lines. But to $20,000 to repair something, if we have budgeted money for that, then we should be using our budgeted money for that. But it's just, what I'm saying.
Yeah, and in the past and in the last few years, the board has approved expenses to the capital improvement funds. However, at the end of the year, we were running either a surplus or we had funds available in our repairs lines, and the board has made a decision to move that back into the budget because the budget could sustain it. And so leave the rainy day fund alone and move it back to the budget.
So are we looking all right thus far for next year as far as repair lines? Because the way I understood it, there's a line for Middletown, there's a line for Wells, and then there's also a line that's maybe a combined. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, if we have to wait for something to fail until we use that money, can it be more preventative than it is an emergency?
Well, that's what the capital maintenance plan or the
5-year
plan is for, is, over the last couple of years, we've seen this plan and these items be addressed. So I think the plan is to use what's budgeted, and then we just hold on to the capital maintenance funds until is needed. That's the way I see it. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry. The other thing we could do is, if we know the boilers, we're projecting that to be needs to be replaced in 4 years, we can start banking a little bit of extra in there so that we're not waiting for it to fail. We're picking that summer, it's gone, and we've got the money to pay for the new one.
And that's kind of what we're doing with Ernie. We're taking a look at everything, and every year it's like, oh, cool, the holding tanks are there. Move it to the next year, and then you can see in the bottom, how much money we'll be spending this year, next year, the year after that, kind of evening it out amongst the next 5 years.
I think this is fantastic. I mean, especially if you're identifying potentially, costly projects that are coming up.
Well, you can think Tammy Holcomb and I did that one years ago. That budget, that line that was brought up by Tammy to start that years ago when we were on the board together.
Awesome.
Almost 20 years ago.
I would thank her. Oh, Matt, sorry, go ahead. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm mute. Okay. So I do want to say I appreciate collecting this money for, potentially the PCB issues that may impact our schools. That may be a big expense that we want to, have a war chest for, so to speak. So I especially like collecting this money and saving it for that rainy day if it happens, just to protect our school. And in addition, Louis, can you just confirm again, like how much money are we getting back from this general fund in interest payments to the general? Yeah, how much money is this contributing in interest to the general fund? You said it was like 11,000.
I can't answer that directly. I mean, we earned a total of 11,000 for all of our money last year.
I see.
I mean, the capital improvement fund is just a small amount. So when we get a state payment of $1 million or the treasurer, so that's the bulk of it that we're earning the interest on.
I see. So it's not really moving the dial in terms of interest payments.
I mean, it is moving it a little bit, but I mean, I would say the capital improvement fund is just a fraction of the 11,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Amanda?
Just clarifying question. On the second page of that report, there's a highlighted area talking about not being able to hire workers to stay for less than what they're making during the day. Is that an area that needs action tonight while we're talking budget stuff? To say that we agree that we can't pay someone less to stay longer in the day? It's just highlighted on the second page there.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I'd forgotten. I had a question about whether Greater Rutland County resources could be used. If there's any way to do that for the maintenance.
Well, we don't. One of the things Louis and I have talked to the SU board is we would like to see our custodial staff move to SU employees. So that we can do this, but right now they are locally funded. They're district employees, and so therefore that would be something we'd have to work with other districts on about whether or not if a Corey Valley employee came over here about doing bill backs or whatever else, but we did talk with the SU board. I think it was last year about this. This would really make things a lot easier across our schools if we had our facility staff really was around SU funded, because we could, particularly during the summer months, we had projects, we could deploy individuals on an as-needed basis. If an individual was out, we could just shift somebody around, but that would be a facilities director who oversaw that would be able to manage where individuals were at, but something which we'd still see.
We just increased substitute pay recently, didn't we? So wouldn't they fall under substitute pay?
Yeah. So I guess if maybe George or Jessica or Carol could just clarify just highlight what specifically what that's saying is.
So the only time that we ever hire a substitute is when we don't have our regularly scheduled maintenance person in there. Nobody signs up for that position. And so we have each identified people in our buildings who would be willing to take on up to 3 hours of work just to help us out. Because if there's nobody in the building doing maintenance, I'm going to tell you, I go around, I clean bathrooms, I pick up garbage so that we're ready to go the next day. And when we had talked about this before, we had agreed that we could pay up to 3 hours. We don't ask anybody to stay beyond that. The person in my building in particular who is and has been willing to do that, if I offer to pay $18 an hour, it's less than what she makes as a regular full-day employee. And so she's not doing it for us. And I will tell you how little it happens. It's only been 3 days this school year when we've really needed somebody. And so I'll keep doing it, but I think we have somebody who would do it. But if I made a certain amount during the day and then I'm going to help you out and do 3 additional hours, I certainly don't want to do it for less money.
So Carol, that's something that you, Jessica, myself, and Liz can sit down and talk about a little bit further, and we can discuss with the board in December about that.
That makes sense, and that sounds like a big challenge.
Yeah.
You had somebody here, Jessica, right, that was also interested?
Yeah. I I'm not so sure if they aren't interested in doing it because of time or because of money.
Because of the same issue.
But even if we don't have anyone, just like Carol said, I'm not gonna have the school not be cleaned.
No.
I know Rick has said the same thing too, where he was, you know, and so, no, I can see that being a huge challenge, so. Okay, all right, thank you for the report. You know, I think that, there's a lot of useful information in there. Keep things up to date, as things, change, because I see lightning hit, so. So we don't have to get into that, but. Okay.
Really great.
All right, so we're gonna move on to just community engagement, just really quick. You guys have noticed that we got the signs, the A-frame signs, and they're sitting out in front of the schools. The one for Middletown Springs, is in front of the town office. You know, I had, reached out to, Patty because, I wasn't sure where the school's property line was and putting it by, because I wanted it by the road would make sense, if that would make sense. And she said we could put it on the lawn, which is, you know, I'm thankful for. It's a great location. So in regards to the sign, anyone has any suggestions or, you know, it's for us to manage. So if anyone wants to assist with that, let me know. Don't let me have all the fun with it. The one side is blank on them. So, I wasn't sure what to put on there. So, again, at least we're just communicating. We have the meeting, date and times on there, locations. I think that's an important piece for folks, just driving by. So yeah, if, just kind of an update on community engagement and anything else anyone wants to add as far as our efforts would be great.
I had a question about messaging. I had sent a test message earlier. I don't know if you saw it or not because it's only once a month. It happened to be today. So I put together some messaging for the GRCSU communication committee. They are trying to connect with all of our towns and schools, and I am chairing that committee, and we have created a flyer, and we are trying to get people to engage and be involved in that. And so there's a sample message. I know that it was discussed before that if it wasn't something specific from us, the board would approve the message, but also if it was public, it was okay to be sent. So this flyer is public. Chris does have it. He did help send it out to the schools, and he did also, I noticed it's on the website. So it technically is public, but I still wanted to discuss with the board to see if they felt it was okay if I sent it out as a separate message, maybe next week, to encourage the people receiving our messaging to sign up to receive GRCSU messaging.
Yeah, it's just
All of the wording in there is the same that's on the sign up sheet. There's no message that's not already either on the landing page or on the flyer.
okay. So just basically use the MailChimp to send out a flyer for the SU subscription, correct?
Correct. It's that we are up to, I just logged in to look, we're up to 218 subscribers. So if we send that to our 218 and even half of them sign up, that's, 109 people. So any way that we can do our part on a local level to help support this for the SU, I think is important. So with the board's approval, I would like to send that message out next week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The test that you sent, but the flyer is that's the same thing that, is on the SU's Facebook page and.
Yeah.
I think it went on the Facebook page.
So, and that's why I was confused because it is public, and we already said that anything in our MailChimp that's public can be sent without board approval. But because it's specific to the SU, I thought we should review it and make sure that everyone on the board felt it was an appropriate message to send.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hurt to ask. Okay. I mean, does anyone object to that?
I think it's great.
Okay. All right. There you go. No objection. Anything else about community engagement? Alrighty. That's all we have for tonight. So, general public comment. Did anyone else want to speak tonight? Okay. Next meeting, December 10th, at Wells Village School. Any agenda items or anything? Just, reach out, email. Usually the week before our meeting, Chris and I will meet and go over the agenda, and the agenda goes out on Friday. So if you can try and get, any agenda items before then, so we can have it on the, agenda.
For facilities report and 5-year plan right now. Good. Thank you. Because I'll forget to contact you.
I wrote it down because I'll forget about it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 8:11. Motion by Sue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Bye.
Adjourn.